Alright guys, so for tomorrow, Monday, a new deck of fate is announced with a guaranteed champion. You probably already heard the news. We will have a chance to get Talenna Soulseer. And I want to go over this, tell you what to expect from this deck, how many points, right? How many points you get for Soul Stones, champ training, what we can expect. Obviously, this is speculation. I don't know exactly, right, the numbers, but we can take a look at previous deck of fates and then see what we can expect. And also, I'm going to give you my thoughts on Talenna Soulseer, what I think about this champion. But first, let's go over this announcement here in-game. So you will have a chance to get Talenna Soulseer from tomorrow, Monday, June the 22nd until Friday, June the 26th. And in this deck, you will be able to get points or fate flowers by summoning souls from soul stones and upgrading champions. So basically, it's going to be a soul rush / champ train, okay? Now, very important, it's going to be similar to a champ train event, not a tournament, so books won't help you to get points for this deck, okay? Now, as always, if you get a sequence of rarities, you will get extra rewards, right? But you cannot pin the rarities. Let me actually find it. Right here, it says, this time around, you won't be able to pin the rarity of a flipped card, which is very usual for guaranteed legendary deck of fate events. We normally only can pin the rarities on, without a guaranteed legendary champion. And this is very interesting here. There are 30 fragments under 10 common green cards, 3 fragments under each of those 10 cards. So 10 for 30 fragments. Then we will have 8 rare cards with 5 fragments each. That's 40 fragments, right? So 18 cards. And then another 30 fragments under 3 epic cards and 10 fragments under each of those 3. So it's 21 cards in total to get Talenna Soulseer. That means theoretically, it is possible to just flip 21 cards and get the champion, but that is almost impossible. And we can go and check out the probabilities. I found actually a graph that is very interesting to see. I found it somewhere on Reddit, I believe. Let's take a look at it. All right, so here you can see it, okay? And this seems pretty accurate. I haven't done the math myself, but this seems pretty accurate. So at the bottom, you can see the number of cards flipped, right? We start at 0, go into 40, which is the exact number of cards in the deck. And then the probability on the left side, okay? And as you can see, as soon as we hit 34, 33 cards, the probability goes up. And I have to say from experience, I never heard of anybody that has been, getting legendary champions from deck of fates, like guaranteed ones, and completed all the 100 fragments or got all the 100 fragments with less than 36 cards flipped. I never heard of anybody. Maybe you guys know someone or it happened for you, so let me know in the comments below, but 36, I believe, is the lowest that I know of to collect the legendary champion from a deck of fate. That's what I know. I myself, I did it at like 38 once, and then also 39. That happened to me personally. But, I never heard of anyone that did it, with less than 36 flips. So yeah, I thought this is very interesting to see. This is from the Gracchus Turndrake deck of fate. So there we also had 21 fragments, 21 fragment cards, excuse me. So pretty much the same scenario. Only the deck was a little bit different in terms of how you can get points. And let's take a look at some of the examples that we had in the past. And here you can see it. This is from one of my videos that I did on the Gracchus deck. And this is how you were able to get points. Now, Chaos Awakes was pretty much you know, the first campaign with this lore, with this corruption lore and the demon spawns against the Sylvan Watchers, right? So now we have kind of the second part with the Web of Corruption. So I thought it might be interesting to compare those two. Yeah, here we had a little difference, right? You were able to get points by summoning soul stones or like opening soul stones. And this is something that you can expect, right? The amount of points you get here from the Immortals and Eternals. And it was 80 from Mortal Soul Stones, so 80, 800, 4,000. And there was a Gear Hunters event as well, okay? Instead of a Champ Train that we have right now for Talenna. So that was a little difference, but here we can see the amount of points you get for Soul Stones, okay? That was a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. It was July the 5th, 2025. Then we also had this deck for Hilvi, and that was also 2025, around Christmas or wintertime. This was the Yuletide event, right? They tend to do this around Christmas and the end of the year. And we have several events and tournaments and stuff. And we also had this deck of fate with a guaranteed Hilvi in it. All right. And here, same thing. Gear Hunters event and Soul Stones. But as you can see, you know, you were getting less points from Soul Stones. 700 from Immortals, 3,500 from Eternals, and 70 from Mortals. That was a difference between the Grecos deck and the Hilvi deck. But there was also a difference in the Gear Hunters aspect of it. Here you were actually getting 1 point more per artifact on the gear than in the Grecos deck. Let me actually show you that. All right, so here is the direct comparison. And as you can see, on the Grecos deck, we got more points for the Soul Stones. On the Hilvi deck, we got more points from the Gear Hunters event, but less from Soul Stones. And it might not seem that it's a lot, but if you put in a lot of energy, like on a larger scale, those are definitely a lot of points if you add 1 point to every artifact that you get. And it does make a difference. And they tend to do these things, and I don't know what the criteria is, depending on maybe what the champion is, how strong the champion is, how or what they think that the champion is. Hilvi definitely had a greater impact on the game than Grecos Turndrake, for example. So if you consider that, it doesn't really make sense, but also you had this thing where Grecos was part of the Chaos Awakes campaign, and if you collect all the champions, you get, you know, these additional rewards, where Hilvi was just a standalone deck of fate, right? But obviously she had a lot more value in today's meta with Tormin and stuff. So yeah, there's that. That you always have to consider when you get those deck of fates with like champions that are part of a campaign where additional rewards are attached to it. If you collect all of them, then they might be more expensive to get, okay, in general. But then there was also another deck of fate with a guaranteed champion, which a lot of players remember because it was one of the most expensive ones in the entire history for guaranteed legendary champions. Is this right here. As you can see, this is exactly what we're gonna have tomorrow: Champ Train and Soul Stones, right? So this is something you can expect as well, okay? This is the only one that I found with Champ Train and Soul Stones with a guaranteed legendary. So the question now is, are we going to have another Freya moment? I know a lot of people hate the fact that Freya was that expensive, but I think at that time it was kind of... Freya was really great at that moment. Now, in today's meta nowadays, she's not that, you know, useful anymore. Definitely fell off, but back then, that was in 2024, in August, I believe. That's exactly when I came back to the game. I took a break for like 7-8 months or something like that. And yeah, that's when I came back and I was able to grab her, and I'm happy about it because she was so useful anywhere. Still use her in Faction Wars hard. So great champion, don't get me wrong, but in today's meta, she got just power crapped and is not that good anymore. But like I said, there's a champ train in here, And when we take a look at the points, it's not really looking great, okay? You get like 1 point from rank 1 to rank 3 per level, 2 points on rank 4s, 4 points on rank 5, and 5 points on rank 6. To rank up champions is also not giving you a lot of points, 3, 10, 35, 70, 200. It's really, really bad. And then this is the lowest amount of points we ever got on Soul Stones in a deck, 60, 600, 3000. That is incredibly low, and luckily we never had another deck like this yet, and I hope they don't do it tomorrow, but you can't count it out. I mean, considering that this is the same combination of Champ Train and Soul Stones, I feel like there might be something or some truth to it. Yeah, I think the deck is not going to be super cheap, right? I can also see them doing it like the Hilvy deck, right? With like 70, 700, 3,500. That's like the next step, right? They're definitely not going to do it with like 90, 900, 4,500. That's not going to happen. I obviously would prefer the Greco's rates on the Soul Stones, but considering that we have the Champ Train paired with it, I doubt it. Okay, I believe it's gonna be, 70, 700, 3,500, but you never know. But now let's take a look at the champion Talenna Soulseer. I think she's a little bit underrated. Let's take a look at the ratings, even though they don't really mean much, but people tend to like her. Arena offense 4.9, arena defense 4.9, and that's also where I would put her at, maybe 4.8, 4.9. So the most important part about a kid is this, okay? Quell the Darkness, her A3. It's an AoE attack, and this kind of reminds me a little bit of Fabian, or probably everybody, because she has this 100% chance of decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs by 2 turns and increasing the cooldowns of all enemies by 2 turns, right? So there's a little difference when we take a look at Fabian. He does it actually for 3 turns, okay? Decreases the duration of all enemy buffs by 3 turns. Then he also grants this extra turn if there are no buffs on the enemy. But he does it before attacking, and then he's increasing the cooldowns of all enemies by 3 skills, okay? So he does all these things by 3 turns, and he decreases the buffs before he attacks, where Talenna does it only for 2 turns, but then she buffs increase accuracy before attacking. So that's her upside, right? The increase accuracy. That allows you to lock out high resistance champions. Theoretically, if you build her with 700 accuracy, that's 1050 accuracy, okay? Enough for most of the high resistance champions to lock them out. Now, she can also weak hit. She's Spirit Affinity, and Raid seems to like to give us, Spirit Affinity lockouts. We got Talenna now. We got Fabian, Sabrail, Crixia. I mean, the Spirit Affinity lockouts are very heavy in numbers. Obviously, we got Tecteon as well, Yumeko, which I avoid, but in general, most of them are Spirit Affinity. I don't know for what reason, but that's just how it is. But besides this skill, which is very common or like very similar to the Fabian one, she also has that speed aura in all battles, okay? And they both have the same aura. But that's pretty much all they have in common, okay? Now you could argue that Fabian is better, and I would actually agree, because he also brings some crowd control. The fear is very annoying, right? The petrification, turn meter decrease. But she has other stuff going on. Which we're going to talk about. So on the A2, she can also place poisons, which is kind of interesting. And she has a turn meter boost for all of your champions, all right? 20% turn meter boost on the A2. It's an AoE attack. And that is also something that you have to keep in mind, that in today's meta, AoE attacks are actually not bad. as stupid as it sounds, AoE attacks are not bad because you get rid of one Mercurial stack on everybody. Alright, that's why I would also rather prefer her to attack on the cooldown on the lockout skill than to just lock them out and not remove total guard at all. But you can weak hit, okay? That's the thing. But let's go back to the A2. So another AoE attack. She has a 100% chance to place 2 poisons when booked on all enemies for 3 turns. Okay, 3 turn poisons, actually pretty interesting. Then increases all allies' turn meter by 20%. So both of these skills have a 3 turn cooldown if booked. And then she can activate poisons on her A1. Has a 50% chance. It's a single target attack, only once. And 50% chance of instantly activating 2 poison debuffs on the target. Instantly activates all poison debuffs on the target if the target has any of their skills on cooldown. Kind of interesting. Maybe she can do some PvE stuff. Solo dungeons, dragon, right? Stuff like that. For wave content, I think she's amazing. And probably also for faction wars. But in general, lockout champions are very important in today's meta. And if you want to compete, you definitely want to get this champion. That's my opinion. Especially if you don't have a lot of lockout champions. Me, for example, I have Fabian and Crixia, so she's not that valuable to me. But I'm still going to get her because if Fabian gets picked and I need another speed aura and I need another lockout, then she's my go-to, right? She's the next best option. And sometimes you just have to use your next best option. She also has 110 base speed, okay, which is not bad. Not bad at all. The highest base speed is 115. Let's take a look at Fabian. I forgot the base speed of Fabian. 109, okay? So she even has higher base speed. Even if it's just 1 speed, is still better. All right, so in my opinion, she's great. You can probably also focus on her poisons a little bit, right? Give her, I don't know, lethal dose, the poison relic, surprise people. That might work as well. But yeah, we didn't talk about the passive yet. So increases all allies' turn meter by 2% whenever poison debuffs is activated on an enemy. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, only one will activate. And then it decreases enemies' crit rate by 5% and crit damage by 10% for each poison debuff on them. This effect does not work against bosses. So if she places 2 poisons on any enemy, they will have 10% less crit rate and 20% less crit damage, which might help you a little bit, right? So they don't crit. I mean, it's just 10%, but still, it might actually decide a fight, okay, if you place those poisons, which is kind of interesting to me. So yeah. In general, like I said, lockout champions are always good to get if you don't have many. If you only have one, you definitely want to get her to have a second lockout champion. Because if your lockout gets picked, you are kind of in a situation where you have to ban the lockout or pick counter lockouts. And sometimes the best way to deal with lockouts is bring lockouts yourself. So yeah, in my opinion, definitely one of the champions that you should get out of this Web of Corruption campaign. Varkos totally surprised me. I think she will also surprise a lot of people. And besides all of that, she's high elves, okay? And we all know there's one champion in here that is Solinar, which is super annoying. If you face him in Siege, for example, very hard to deal with. But with a lockout, definitely easier to do, okay? With a lockout, it's definitely easier. And it kind of nerves him a little bit. But we also have this absolute monster, which is one of the best mythicals in the game right now. So there's definitely a better version of Talenna. But everybody can get Talenna now, okay? If you have the soul stones and the champ train resources ready, you can get her and, you know, be able to deal with Solinar and do great things for your clan in Siege, for example, okay? But also, outside of Siege, she will be amazing everywhere. And And also Faction Wars, right? Faction Wars hard. She will be great there. Lockout, control champion in Faction Wars with Termite boost and poisons. That's amazing. Also another thing you have to keep in mind is decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs. Some people don't know this, but this ignores Lightning Cage, for example. This ignores Lightning Cage, which is another upside. It's the same thing that Fabian does, and she can do it as well. So if you face somebody with Stone Skin, you will still have a 50-50% chance to remove the Stone Skin or not, but the Lightning Cage won't protect it, okay? Or the Lightning Cage won't protect any buffs, to be honest, from this, okay? It only protects from buff removals, from straight removals, not from decreasing the duration. But yeah, guys, these are my thoughts on this champion. I'm definitely going to get another lockout champion in my roster. Hopefully I can get a soul for her. I don't know what type of events they're going to come up with. Maybe a hero's path where you can get Varkos as well. I have no idea what they are planning. I actually expected Varkos to be in a deck of Fate, and I think a lot of people are also a little bit disappointed that Varkos is not in a deck. Maybe there will be another deck. I don't know. Anything can happen. We can only wait and see what they will come up with. And yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you think Talenna is worth to go for or not? And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, hit that like button. Also, subscribe to the channel. And if you liked this video, YouTube's going to think that you like this one as well. Take care and see you in the next one.